Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics Podcast. I'm your host, Dan, from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. And with me today, I've got nobody special at all. This episode is brought to you by PCBWay, but more about them later on. Almost missed the sponsor spot there. Good thing I didn't. So hi, it's just me and you again today. However, I do have a pretty interesting episode planned for you. First things first, I want to tease a little bit of something that's coming later on the episode, is that I bought myself, purchased with my own hard-earned money, a new piece of test gear. It is a benchtop piece of test gear, so it's not like a $15 Amazon multimeter or anything like that. It is a benchtop piece of gear, and I am really excited to give it a test. I have not even plugged it in yet. I'm going to be doing that live on my live streaming channel in the next couple days. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, you might not be too late. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. Yeah, I'll wait till this weekend so that people who hear this episode have a chance to go and check it out. So yeah, just a little bit of a teaser because we're not going to start with that for a subject. I thought for a subject, we could go take a look at my last 3 Uni-T videos that I have put up. And I want to do a little bit of a retrospective of sort of like how the videos have been received, some of the feedback I'm getting from the comment section, and maybe reply to some comments live on the podcast, just so we can have a little bit more of a dialogue. I find YouTube comments are incredibly important for creators for feedback. I love feedback, whether that be positive or negative. The only things that I tend to delete is when I get really fed up with someone, really not doing constructive criticism, just criticizing, name calling, whatever. It hasn't happened much. Have only happened once. Actually, I didn't even delete their comment, but I just disengaged. And anybody who is insulting to my podcast guests, essentially. That's the only 2 kind of comments that I don't like. So we're going to read a couple of the comments, and we're going to respond to them. And just get a chance to talk a little bit more one-on-one about the Uni-T haul, all the great equipment that Uni-T sent me. I thought it would be really fun to go back through that stuff. So let's get started with that. The first device we're going to take a look at is the UPS 3305 power supply. That's the 30 volt, 5 amp maximum per channel, 4 channel, quote unquote, power supply by Uni-T. Now, this thing is a really professional piece of kit. I didn't have anything too negative to say. The only thing I would say that was a interesting choice from Uni-T was calling it a 4-channel power supply, because the 4th channel is just really it's like a USB connector. It doesn't have variable current on it. It doesn't have variable voltage. It doesn't do power delivery. None of that. It's just a regular USB port. So really, it's a 3-channel, and in fact, the 3rd channel is a little bit more limited than the 2 first channels. So, if we were talking straight arrow here, I would say it is a 2-channel with a bonus channel and a bonus USB. That's pretty much where I would place it. However, everything else about it is really nice. It's a very nice piece of kit. It's a linear power supply, so it is really sweet. It's huge, it's heavy, but it's really nice, especially the 3305S, I think, was the little delimiter. Yeah, S is the suffix, I guess. It has a nice display. This is a beautiful machine. I love this thing, especially that you can go series and parallel with just pressing buttons. You don't need to do external connections. Phenomenal. Let's see what the comments had to say about it. So, at Segway Dave said, "Nice video, thanks. As an engineer for over 30 years, I find it funny that Uni-T is using the terms master and slave in 2024. HR has come down on us many times by using master slave rather than the more PR, primary, secondary. Just sharing, not preaching. Heck, I still catch myself using master and slave as it's what I learned back in 1990. Yeah, I think those are still industry terms, though. I'm pretty sure that in the industry they still use master and slave. I know for me, in the automotive industry, we still say master cylinder and slave cylinder when we're talking about, like, the master cylinder is the hydraulic cylinder that applies the pressure, that creates the pressure. And the slave cylinders are the ones that are actuating things. So we still say master slave as well. I don't know if the industry has progressed, like the electronics industry has progressed beyond master and slave. It is a very problematic term, but I think it's okay in a technical sense. It's actually a good question. I'll ask ChatGPT what it thinks, although I'm not sure if it'll respond just yet. Is it still proper to term things master and slave in, like, communications or hydraulics? Let's see what ChatGPT says. Well, it's considered inappropriate and outdated in technical fields. Interesting. Okay, so it is outdated. So what is the primary, secondary, leader, follower, controller, responder, main/backup, parent, child, coordinator, worker? Okay, well, there we go. Learn something new every day. Thank you, Segway Dave. Next one, at Simon Tay 4851. Far too expensive for me. It's okay for you. You got it free. The rest of us have to pay. Yeah, see, this is an interesting comment because yes, I did receive the power supply free of charge. Yes, it's okay for me. Okay, I understand. If you get something for free, it doesn't really matter the quality of it because it's free. But what you have to keep in mind is that I am not a purchaser of a power supply. So yes, it's free to me, but it's not something that'll go and sort of make my business money, right? And I'm also not a hobbyist that specifically needed a computerized power supply. In fact, I have power supplies all over the place here. When I take a look at these power supplies, I do put them in the context of their price, right? I'm well aware that power supply, and I'm going to check Unitrend US. I'm going to check the website for the prices because I don't have them off the top of my head. But when I take a look at anything, no matter what it is, I do put it in its context. Like, is this acceptable for the price? So the UDP 3305S is $520. That's quite expensive. It's a lot of money. But if you are a business that needs a linear power supply, like a board manufacturer doing small run stuff, a startup, a hardware startup, $519 is cheap. I mean, in some countries, your business license costs more than that. So also in the big scheme of things, like a Keysight one, something like, onshore, would cost something like 3 times more. I don't even know. Let's check together. So if I go down here, is there power supplies? Yes, right there. Power supplies, DC power supplies. Let's see if we can find something 200 to 400 watts. So the E36200 series power supply. How much is this? Highlights. Yes. Price. Okay. So the cheapest one seems to be $2,000 US. So you can essentially buy 5 or 4 power supplies from Uni-T for the same price as one Keysight. And the thing with the Uni-T is that it doesn't really have any of the quirks of sort of cheaper power supplies. I found that power supply to be really, really good. And if you're a startup, $2,000 may still not be a lot, but I feel like you can outfit your workstation with this Uni-T power supply and a couple more tools for the same price. So I think in the context of what you're getting, $520 isn't bad. Now, if I am just tinkering with Arduino stuff, yeah, $520, that's a bit too much for me. That's US dollars. So I would go what I did pay for with my own money, which is, either a read-in power supply or a 3306 power supply. Something that's just a switching, buck converter with good, good current response, and then a AC to DC power supply. So that'll run you about $120 or so, in way cheaper than the $520. But if I needed that precision, if I needed a linear power supply at $520, this is a ridiculous value. So that's just my opinion on the thing. The DefPalm says, nice. I'm disappointed that Uni-T didn't get in touch with me to review their products, though. Seems like they missed my channel. Yeah, I don't know why they reached out to me instead of a lot more of the really deserving channels, but I'm glad they did. So I'm really happy to get them. Maybe if you reach out to Uni-T, they might send you some stuff. And as a reply to the DefPalm, Unibyte says, so the DefPalm is a friend of the show, and so is Unibyte, says, it's really odd who finds you when and why. Even though I'm still under 3K subs, I get requests all the time. Most of them are miles off the mark. Yep, anybody who's a YouTuber knows. Like just today, I think I've got a sponsorship request from a company that sells shoe racks. I was like, I'm not even answering this. And I don't engage row they specify. I think there's a typo there. 3 pages list of things I have to do. Yeah, I don't like those either. I skip on those. Some of them actually, they say like, oh yeah, we're going to send you like a light fixture, like just like a lamp or something. And they're like, we're going to send it to you, and then you're going to make the video within 2 to 10 business days, and you're going to send it to us for a review, and then we're going to request changes, and then you're going to change it. And then at the bottom of all this, they say, and we own the video footage. It is going to be ours. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I can just buy your product on Amazon for $20. No, thank you. So yeah, it's interesting. So he says, sorry, nah, not sure what Uni-T are like, but the only two I regular work with are PCBWay and Finercy, because they both agreed to let me do it my way. Okay, I'm just going to finish this. I'd love to get all this Uni-T kit like SE got, but only if I can call a turd a turd. By the way, doesn't seem to be the case with this power supply. It really seems to be a nice piece of kit. Really hope they up their support to match their new run at mainstream test equipment. So I have to say, I really love answering these kinds of questions because Uni-T has been phenomenal to work with. First of all, when they approached me, they didn't want to work with me. They just wanted to send me test gear, and they said it'd be nice if I made videos about them. So they're not, it's not a sponsorship or anything. They're just like, we want to send you stuff, and we're hoping you can make a video per product, but we're essentially just sending you this. So that was nice. And the other thing is that when I found problems, now not really any problems with the power supply, but the other things we're going to talk about very shortly. When I found problems, they said, oh, great, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. I'm sending this to the engineering team. And then I said, do you want me to hold off on publishing the video? And they said, no. They said, you got it the way it is. You do what you want with it. So they are extremely easy to work with. And I have to say, PCBWay is exactly the same. I haven't had the chance to work with Finercy yet. They did reach out. So maybe in the near future. But so far, PCBWay has been the same thing. Very hands-off, very much do a project. We would like for you to publish it on our website. But other than that, it's hands-off. So Uni-T is incredibly confident about their products. And I think for good reason, especially with this power supply. It was a fantastic piece of kit. So that's nice. At ECU Repair says, would be useful to see the noise from it under load using an oscilloscope. Yeah, so I skipped that test, and I'll tell you why I skipped that test. The big reason is I want to find out how it was tested and what's the proper way to test it. So I thought I was going to be able to do the research by the time I got the oscilloscope video done, but I did not. So it's going to be its own video, essentially, because I want to give it a test, but I want to do it the correct way. I want to make sure my probing is accurate. I want to make sure my settings are accurate. I want to make sure the load is accurate, because when I do these tests, these are the very important ones that could make the product look very bad or very good. It can make me look very bad and very good. So unless I know what I'm doing, I don't want to delve into that kind of thing. So until I've done my research on how I want to do this, there's no way I'm gonna do it. So basically, that's a plan: to do the research, then do the test, and it'll be its own video. So that's why I didn't do it in the first look video, because it is just a first look. And actually, the way it's going right now, it seems like I'll be able to do a full review of the UDP3305S by the time that I learn how to do the noise testing. So yeah, maybe it'll be the full review that will test that out too. I'd also love to get sort of graphs on the sort of like do performance graphs and efficiencies and stuff like that. So it'd be really nice to have a full test suite set up. That stuff is kind of coming. It's in the pipe. Mr. Xenon 1977 says, very nice review, and it seems like a very nice device. But this is really an old-fashioned mains transformer with purely But is this really an old-fashioned mains transformer with purely linear regulators? I'd really expect a supply of this price class to be a switch mode power supply with good filtering, maybe a linear post regulation. At times where the SMPS have been noisy and hard to control are really over. I can't understand why you want to use kilograms of copper in the transformer and waste lots of heat in the regulator. This is a good comment, Mr. Xenon 1977. And as far as I understand it, it's very difficult to quiet down switch mode power supply's noise output. As far as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's the noise put out by a switch mode power supply is sort of like different at different loads. And so you can do post regulation and you can use capacitors and all this stuff. But when you've got like spiky loads, like when a microcontroller boots up and pulls current, or when a relay switches or whatever, for that brief moment, the switch mode power supply will put out a different type of noise or a different frequency of noise, and it's hard to attenuate all of them. This is as far as I understand. So linear power supplies, I believe, are still the standard, because if I'm looking at that Keysight power supply, it certainly looks massive, like a linear power supply would be. Yeah, I think it is. So I think if Keysight is still in the business of making linear supplies, I think there's still a way better, there's still a need for it. So, I mean, Keysight is, pretty much a leader in these kinds of things. So I would say it's probably the case. So Keysight is saying ripple and noise is under 350 microvolts RMS, and the specs on the Uni-T, I don't remember. I'd have to go check in the on the spec sheet, and I'm not quite sure. But point is, it's really low. All right, next device, the UT8805E. So that's the 5.5 digit, so 5.5 digit, 200,000 count DMM. This is pretty much the unit that I was the most excited for in terms of lab equipment, because I've got power supplies, right? And to me, the noise floor isn't really that important. I don't work with really sensitive electronics. at all, or even I barely work with analog electronics, but although I am working on a video at the moment. But what you can't really replace is extra digits on a multimeter, extra digits of precision, especially on a multimeter with a traceable calibration, which is really good. So I was really excited. Now this is the bit of the most controversial piece of gear I got from Uni-T, because it didn't even meet its own specs in the manual. So the diode test, for example, was advertised to work up to 4 volts. I couldn't get it to work even like close to 3 volts, like 2.9 or whatever. I couldn't get it to work. Also, it didn't default to the thermocouple type that it comes with, and it forgets the type you've set in after a power cycle. So those kinds of things are quite annoying. However, it does seem to be really precise. It does work as a multimeter as it should. And so for me on my bench, it is an extremely nice piece of kit. I'm happy to have it. And in fact, I would love to get a 6.5, but I think I might be asking for a lot. Also, price-wise, $489 US. Again, if you need a 5.5 digit multimeter, I'm not quite sure what are your other options here for that price. So let's see what the comments have been saying, shall we? So at Bazaar 1869. Oh, that person's really old if they were born in 1869. Honestly, I can't see any hobbyist making use of the facilities this meter gives over, say, the O1 bench meter range. I do have an O1 bench meter, the XDM something. Increased accuracy isn't of any utility. Well, not to me, but to certain people, yes. 3 digits is enough for home use. Yeah, I think I would agree for regular hobbyist use. 4-wire measurement won't ever get used. Well, I don't know about that. I kind of like the 4-wire. It's the only device I have that does 4 wires. The quirky UI will just make people leave it on the shelf and pick up their Kaiweets 01 multimeter. I think one of the big reasons that I love benchtop multimeters is that they stay on the shelf. They don't run away, so they're always there. You can get your whole suite of devices, oscilloscope, function gen, power supply, multimeter, component tester for the price of this unit. All right, Bazaar, I sort of agree with you. Really, I sort of do. So essentially, up until Uni-T has sent me a 5.5 digit multimeter, I did not have a 5.5 digit multimeter. Does that mean that my lab was incomplete? No, I was doing quite a bit of hobbyist electronic stuff without a 5.5 digit multimeter. The thing is though, when I get sent a 4.5 digit multimeter, I don't have anything to compare it to. Even a 3.5 digit multimeter, I can only do other comparisons with other 3.5 digit multimeters. The problem is when I get sent a multimeter and I say, I like this multimeter, I can't quantify the accuracy, the precision of that multimeter without having an extra digit of precision. So when Uni-T said they want to send me a 5.5 digit multimeter, I said, heck yes, please. Because now I got to see how close my Kaiweets multimeter, the one I use pretty much all the time, and my Fluke 117 multimeter that I use all the time, I got to see how close they are, and they are extremely close. I also get to double check my voltage reference, right? Because the Uni-T has a traceable calibration, which means that if I can write down all the digits that appear on the Uni-T multimeter on my voltage reference, that is now the new reference, right? And anything with less than 5.5 digits, so 4.5 digits and up, I can now compare more easily. So yes, although I do agree that for home use, for regular hobbyist, beginning in the hobby type thing use, you don't need a 5.5 digit multimeter. I agree. However, in order to go a little further and to, I would say, to do proper reviews on things, a 5.5 digit meter is nice to have. There are some situations, again, if you are doing hardware manufacturing, where you're going to want a 5.5 digit or 6.5 digit or 7.5 digit multimeter. And I think this one for $489 is a pretty good price. I do think that the utility of it to me is like 90% those extra digits, and then, 10% all the other stuff. And I think that the UI issues I have with it and the, lack of diode testing that's working proper or whatever, that takes away points, but it only takes away points from that 90%. Like I can test diodes no matter where. I want this one for the extra digits, essentially is what it is. But I agree with you partially. However, Will Bloodworth replied and said, I'm a hobbyist and I own tens of thousands of dollars of test equipment. I do not believe that hobbyists are relegated to using cheaper gear. We buy what we want within our budget in every situation. But I'm probably a victim of TEAS, which I think is Test Equipment Acquisition Syndrome. All of the new Uni-T stuff appears to be excellent value for the price compared to some of their older gear. Yes, see, I agree with this too. Because if you are learning, you don't need a 5.5 digit multimeter. However, if you're going that extra mile, if you're going further, then that's when it becomes really nice. Now, most of the stuff on the 8805E I can deal with. What I don't like, though, for such an expensive multimeter that I find less forgivable is how slow the continuity tester is. It's quite slow and it's not latching. But again, because Uni-T is super easy to work with, I told them this and they're like, oh, that's a problem. Sent it to their engineering department. So it may be fixed in a software update in the future. Who knows? At Eric R007, he says, I'm sure the soft power switch. Oh yeah, I did complain about the soft power switch because I like a big ka-chunk. I also like the fact that I don't have to unplug my devices, stop sapping power from the walls. Is to keep the meter warmed up so the precision references are always stable and ready to make readings. Also, it would be interesting to test the continuity with a higher threshold. Maybe it'll beep faster. A higher threshold. So I guess he means if I put it up to, like, let's say beep anywhere under 50 ohms, maybe it'll beep faster. It's possible. The display definitely refreshes a lot faster than the beep happens, which is why I think it might be solvable in a software update. But I'm not sure. I do have some really fancy test leads that are going to be tested soon, so maybe that'll make a difference too. I'm not sure. But yeah, thanks for your comment. At Ivolol, IVOLOL, they say, I was going to say that your reading of 10 meg ohms resistance is really rather piss poor for my modern high current benchtop meter, but luckily the specs say it can at least go up to 100 meg. Yeah, I read that in the specs. I thought I read 10 megs, but maybe it was 100 megs max. Actually, I have it up here. Top specs. I don't know. It doesn't say there. You have to go look in their documentation. Their documentation is now like hosted by Microsoft, which is really weird. Anyways, they continue. 20 ppm Tempco is really nothing to write home about. Okay, but the thing is, it is good though. Like, it is specified. They do guarantee it for that. If you want to make a case against an older high digit meter, 3478A, for example. Well, so the thing is, this is brand new and it comes with traceable calibration. If you buy used gear on eBay, you don't have that traceable calibration, or you may have to send it in to get calibrated and whatever. If you have aircon in that room, to keep it at 23 degrees, I'd write those values down as the true values for your voltage reference, at least till you decide to jump deeper down the volt nut hole. Might as well use those calibration ppms while they're fresh. Yep. I mean, there you go. They also continue 100 microamps. So 200 microamp scale is not exactly the most impressive scale in any modern DMM. Pretty bog standard. Your 6,000 count HT118A, that's the Kaiwitz, in the video has it, for instance, 600 microamps scale. Yeah, no, but it's still, I agree, but it was still nice to see. They continue. The 10 gig impedance up to 20 volts is nice. Normally you would expect it to only go to the 2 volt range. Okay, yeah. Your issue with the amps range makes me think that any DMM manufacturer that wants to stand out could just put some tiny LEDs next to each port that shine for the ports being used for the current measurement. Yeah, that was my issue with the UI. As soon as you go to get into current, you have to go shift and, like, let's say DC current, you have to go shift and DC volt, and then it defaults to the milliamp range and not the amp range. But it only tells you in a tiny little square at the bottom. So it's not very clear that, you know, it's milliamps. I really would have preferred if the current was its own button and then you could hit it once for amps and once again for milliamps, or once for milliamps and once again for amps. But it is what it is. Your 4-wire measurement didn't really show any changes in resistance upwards. If anything, it stayed the same or went down 1 count, which is what should happen. It should go down since the resistance, the measuring. Yeah. It'd be better demonstrated on a resistor under 10 ohms. Yeah, I need to play around with that a little bit. So yeah, this is new to me, the 4-wire resistance measurement. So yeah, maybe I do have some like really small resistors, like under 10 ohms. So I'm going to take a look, see if I can do a better demo for the full review on small resistances. Pretty sad on the beeper. Can't be the leads if you can literally notice the screen updates before the beeper. Yeah. Again, I'm thinking probably a software update will address that. I've always thought it'd be nice for some meter to have a PET Zener testing mode. Provide about 1 milliamp of current, say up to 30 volts. And then at least they might stop doing the epic fails on the white LEDs. I know. That's a little disappointing, especially since the documentation says it should be able to reach 4 volts. Disappointing that a more quote-unquote budget-friendly benchtop meter still seems to mean 101 edge cases bugs found around the software and the user experience interface. Unexpected, no one starts to hope for better as time marches on, though. So this is the thing, though. Uni-T is just getting into the US market with serious lab testing equipment. And although I feel as though they should have noticed this stuff themselves when they had it in their own hands, they seem to be actively trying to make their experience better, to make the experience better. So I'm thinking like the future will hold much better Uni-T stuff. And I'm pretty excited to see where that's going. And I'm just saying this because I've been chatting behind the scenes with my rep, and it seems like they're really serious about doing a good job. So we'll see what the future holds. Just a quick interruption to talk about this episode's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a long-term sponsor of the channel, and I think they're a good match for my channel because they provide quality PCBs for a reasonable price. You can get boards manufactured up to 100 mils by 100 mils for just $5. Including shipping to Canada, $15 US. Including shipping to USA, $12 US, which is incredibly cheap for professionally manufactured PCBs. I can personally attest to the quality of these PCBs, and so if you want a circuit immortalized forever, check out PCBWay.com with the link in the description. Now back to the conversation. Last comment for this, at Thomas W6169, nice. Not sure if that is worth $500 with the trailing ellipsis. Well, I actually replied to Thomas and I said, what would be your pick if you had $500 to spend and needed 5.5 digits? And Thomas never replied. However, you guys should probably reply. Let me know in the comments below if you had a $500 US budget to spend on a 5.5 digit multimeter with traceable calibration. What would you get? Because I can go on AliExpress and probably find a 5.5 digit multimeter for cheaper, but it won't have the sort of the calibration, the traceable calibration. Let's see if I can go 5.5 digit DMM. I'm just going to check right now live with you. So there's some handheld stuff. I don't think that's 5.5 digit. No. Let's go 200,000 count multimeter. I don't think there is something. I might have to look. There's 20,000 count multimeter, Roshui. No, I don't see anything. I'll have to take a look more in depth. It's probably something that I won't find just by searching it like that. But yeah, what kind of multimeter would be your pick if you had $500 to spend and you saw something, you want 5.5 digits and you want a calibration, traceable calibration? Let me know in the comments below. I think last comment here, the Def Palm, friend of the show, says, a lot of that meter looks like it was inspired by the Siglent SDM series. It all looks very familiar. Mind you, I think they copied their interface from Agilent. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I'm not 100% sure if Uni-T is the true OEM of sort of this DMM, because you see a lot of them that look very similar. But I do know that the software is definitely Uni-T. It's quite Uni-T. But there's nothing wrong with buying a good base and then modifying it as it suits your customers. I think that's totally fine. Happens all the time in industries you wouldn't think of, like computer power supplies, for example. There are companies like Great Wall and Superflower that make power supplies for the likes of like EVGA and Seasonic and stuff like that. So it's very common. I just think that it's important that when they are doing the software for it, they need to fix the UI UX bugs. My opinion. So the last video I want to talk about in this specific retrospective is for the UPO 1204. That is the 4-channel 200 megahertz 2 meg samples per second oscilloscope. This is a very nice piece of kit. There's only 2 little weird things from it. Otherwise, it was really nice. It has the buttons for the logic analyzer and for the waveform generator, but it tells you that you have to buy an MSO scope to get those features. It's kind of weird because they don't sell those as an upgrade, because the MSO and the UPO are 2 completely separate oscilloscopes. But yeah, this one is at $527.20. So that is the sort of the sale price. It looks like the regular price is $659. I don't know if the sale price ever goes down. I don't think so. I think it seems to be always the same price, but really nice oscilloscope, especially talking about how fast the UI responds, because I love my DS1054Z, which is also a 4-channel scope. However, the UI is so old at this point that it's kind of frustrating. So this is the video with the least amount of comments on it. So I'll have a little bit less to talk about than before, but let's see. So at Law Picking Locksmith, good to see a healthy competition in the scope market. This is another marvel. Yeah, I agree. Pretty cheap. I mean, $500. That's just about, let's say, $700 Canadian. So it's quite a nice scope for a 200 megahertz bandwidth scope, 4-channel. But the reply, so at Mehow357 replied to that saying it's not even close to competitive to Siglent's SDS 800X HD. So probably SDS 800 series HD, which is cheaper with better resolution, faster, etc. But competition is always welcome. It drives progress and leads to lower prices. So I found that comment interesting because so the UPO 1204 is $527.20, like I said. Is that what I said? Yeah, $527.20. Which is, I find it a reasonable price. But then I looked at the Siglent scopes, and the SDS 824X HD, which is the equivalent. So it has the 4 channels, it has the 200 megahertz bandwidth, it has the same sample 2 gig samples per second, etc., etc. It's $800 US. So even at the full price of $660 US, the Sigilant is significantly more expensive. And to get the cheaper Sigilant, the one that's cheaper than the full price of the Uni-T, you only get 2 channels, and that will cost you $630. And to beat it at the current sale price, you would only be able to get a 2-channel 100 megahertz bandwidth Sigilant for $439. Or if you want to stretch your budget a little bit, you get the 4-channel, but still only 100 megahertz at $559. So, I mean, as much as I would love to take a look at the Sigilant one and see if it's just as good as this Uni-T or better, it seems like the price is not comparable here. And I found it really funny because when I was taking a look at these comments, I had actually the person, I saw that person and I answered, like, my research shows that it's actually cheaper than the Sigilant. But then they mentioned that in Europe, the Sigilant is cheaper by a few bucks. That person, Mihao357, says 699 euros versus 712 euros, tax included, but without tax when you buy it as a company or as self-employed, so 19% cheaper. So I'd have to check a local marketplace, like a local vendor, and see if that price follows through. But as I can see from Uni-T's website at the moment, the Sigilant looks significantly more expensive. So maybe it just depends on the region, but I have to evaluate what I have in front of me. Also, I don't have the Sigilant, so I haven't tried it. I don't know if it has weird UI quirks or anything like that. If Sigilant would like to send me a scope, I would gladly take a look at it. But either way, I really do agree that more competition is always welcome. I mean, that's what drives prices down in the end. So at Unibyte says LA equals logic analyzer. Yeah, when I click the button, it's like it says LA not available, and I was like, I don't know what LA means. So logic analyzer, and he continues to say it looks like a decent scope, but if its price does bring it up against Sigilant's SDS 804X HD series. That's some mighty stiff competition with 12-bit sampling, touchscreen UI, and web server interface. Okay, so that part I wasn't aware of. Touchscreen UI, web server interface, those might be stiff competitions. Again, Sigilant, reach out if anybody knows the Sigilant contact for sort of quote-unquote influencer marketing. As much as I hate that term, let me know, because I'd love to test some of their gear. Don't know why it has the digital and gen buttons. They are additional functions available on the MSO 1000X series, which has not been released, and not the UPO. Yeah, good question. I don't know why. In fact, when I reported this to my reps, and I joked, I said it jokingly. I said, well, when I click 2 buttons, it tells me to buy a different scope. And he's like, wait, are you kidding? And then I took a picture of it and I said, I mean, I was being facetious, but no, it's kind of true. So they're looking into it, I assume. At Robert Cromwell, 9736, they say, great scope. It even works with the red banded scope hooked up to the orange port. Yeah, I sometimes do that just to see who notices. I use the wrong probe in the wrong hole, or sometimes I don't use channel 1 or whatever. I'm just trying to see who notices. There's a few Easter eggs scattered in pretty much every single one of my videos. And when you do find them, let me know in the comments. It lets me know you've been paying attention, which is great. So there you have it. At Gamer Patty says, the user manual on the official Uni-T shop website can only be downloaded by logging into a Microsoft account. WTF. That is weird, actually. I did notice that they're now using like SharePoint for their stuff, but before it was just PDFs directly on the website. I'm actually going to talk to my rep about that because that is a bad move if you have to sign into a Microsoft account. The reason I think, now this is just me making stuff up because I don't have an answer from the reps about this, but I think that they are currently updating their documentation with software updates and stuff on their systems. So they're sharing them from like the newest available source. I think so. But I mean, if not, I think it's a mistake if you do need to log in. I will try to go in incognito mode and see if I can download the documentation, because if you can't, I don't think that's a good idea. He says also 2 gig samples per second is nice, but we had that in 95 already. 12 and 14-bit is the new big thing. I wouldn't ever buy an 8-bit scope again. Is this an 8-bit scope? This is a good question. Top specifications. Let's go live and go find documentation. Documents bringing me to a page. Yeah, it does look like a link to some Adobe stuff. V1.1, download that. It's on SharePoint. It's definitely using SharePoint, but I don't know if you have to log in. I'm going to Control F for the word bit. It says 0. Okay, I'll go Control F for 8. I don't know if it's 8-bit. Let me see. Yep, confirmed in the data sheet. Vertical system, it says vertical resolution is 8-bit. So that is a little dated. But in my testing, it looked really good. It works really well. So again, this is not their higher end stuff. This is the UPO 1000 series. I think they have UPO 2000 series and MSO and UPO 3000 series. They have UTD 2000 series. So I think they do have higher end stuff. Like if I'm looking at the mixed signal scope, let's see, 3352E, 3354E, 33. Yeah, this might be the top end over here. MSO 3304E, possibly. So if we check that, it's probably going to have better bits. No, it says 8 bits still. Very interesting. So I'd have to do more research to find out if they have 12-bit and 14-bit vertical resolutions on any of their scopes, but it's just too much to do right now while I'm trying to talk this through. So more research to be done, but I do know from my rep that they are planning on releasing a whole bunch of new test gear, and that's probably going to be a feature on the new ones, but I don't know for sure. I don't work for Uni-T. All right, at Ladron Siman, Ladron's Iman, I don't know, 1471. Great scope. I hope the plastic won't become yellowish with the sunlight. I think it probably will, Ladron. If I'm not mistaken, it is the chemical fireproofing agent that they mix into the plastic that reacts with the UV rays and turns it like kind of like a yellowish. And a lot of people like that yellowish because it gives stuff a very vintage vibe. So I don't know if in this case it will, but it probably will. I'm assuming the types of fireproofing needed for UL and CE certification are probably the cheapest when they're that plastic that will leach out that stuff. However, I'd really like Uni-T to release black equipment because it seems to be the trend now that a lot of the benchtop stuff is black, and I think that would be a lot nicer, a lot better to see, a lot nicer to use type stuff. So I would like some black equipment. It may not yellow the same. All right. That is it for the retrospective. Let me know in the comments below if you liked this kind of retrospective where we go over comments and sort of like I add my 2 cents a little bit more in it. But now I think I have teased you guys for long enough. Let me tell you about the piece of test gear that I paid with my own money out of my own pocket at great expense to get. So what did I buy? What did my lab actually need? Well, I bought a 3.5-digit multimeter. I bought a Fluke benchtop 3.5-digit multimeter with a 1% accuracy rating. So why did I do that? Well, because I actually only paid 15 Canadian dollars for it, and it is a vintage multimeter. So I saw this on the Canadian equivalent of Craigslist, which is Kijiji. Here in Canada, it's a Fluke 8000A, and the guy was asking $15 for it, or $14, but I didn't want to make change, so I gave him 15. I went to pick it up yesterday, so I now have it in stock, and I'm really excited for this thing. It is a vintage multimeter from the 70s. Doesn't come with test leads. It needs an IEC cable for to plug it in, and that IEC cable has been replaced. It looks brand new, so I think he just gave me whatever he had, and I can't wait to test it and see if it still has its calibration. It looks like it's been through war. It looks like it's been calibrated a couple times, and yeah, I'm really excited to see if it still works, if the calibration still holds up. Can't wait to play with the little clicky switches on the very top. I haven't plugged it in, haven't tested it, haven't done anything with it, but the guy says it does function. So what's going to happen is that either this weekend or next week, I will be doing a live stream, which we're going to record the video for that. So I'd love to have you guys over on my live streaming channel, and you guys can participate. But essentially, I'm going to plug it in, see if it works. Then I'm going to check the accuracy using my typical suite of multimeter test systems. And then I will tear it down. We're going to tear it down, and we're going to see what it looks like on the inside. I have not done any of this. I don't want to be spoiled. I want to know exactly how and if it works. And if it's a complete turd and it doesn't work or whatever, it's not a big deal. I paid $15. I'll make a video. I'll probably make something like $3 or $4 off the AdSense of that video, and that'll be fine. You know, that it'll be that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. And on the subject of my live streaming channel, I have a plan. And I want to know what you guys think about this. You guys let me know if you'd be interested. My live streaming channel cannot be monetized. I can't run ads because it's not popular enough. So the SE made a stream. It's not a popular channel, so it cannot be monetized. You need 4,000 subscribers. You need a certain amount of watch time and all this stuff. So I would really love to get that channel because it's a lot more interesting to me to do live streams while I work than to, just be alone in the creation process. I would love to get this thing monetized. So I was thinking of doing an extremely long stream, probably in November, when my automotive job cools down a little bit. So right now it has 175 subscribers, and I was thinking of doing like a 6-hour long live stream, but with every 100 subscribers gained, then I would add an hour of time. So maybe I'll do every, maybe I'll divide that a little bit more evenly or something. And so the stream could go on essentially forever. But what I do not want is for you guys to sign up all of your accounts and subscribe on all of your accounts. Please, one account per person. If you game the system by creating a whole bunch of accounts or like churning through your accounts to add subscribers, the issue there is that if YouTube finds that out, first of all, they'll ban you for doing that. They might ban me because I'm asking for subscribers, right? And you're doing that. And on top of that, they're just going to take the least harmful thing they're going to do is they're going to take all those subscribers away anyways. So please do not do that. But if you are not subscribed, it would be a great time to go over there and subscribe to the live stream channel. I'm hoping to get a little bit more attention on it. There are some really good live streams I have done. If I check on the amount of views, number one most viewed is almost 1,000 views, and that's for a 3-hour and 15-minute long live stream. I honestly think the live streams are phenomenal content, but they're more like background listening. You know, they're not like something you actively get into. Maybe for the long stream, I will do some sort of back and forth type things. But the biggest thing is I kind of want the live stream to be like a challenge. Like I'll have a project that I will go from conception to production to video to edited at the end of the live stream. So think of it this way, like maybe I'll build a circuit, maybe I'll design a case for it, maybe I'll send the case over the 3D printer, it'll print, we'll film a video, we'll edit the video, and we'll upload it all within, the one live stream type thing. And I also had suggestions for people that I shared this with that said that, maybe I should accept guests coming in to chat with for a little bit. So I might ask some of the alumni of the Simple Electronics podcast to come in and say hi and chill for, an hour or two or something like that. I don't know. That's all what I'm thinking right now. If you have ideas, let me know in the comments below. But for now, I am recording this during my favorite podcast in the whole world, the H3 podcast. So I need to finish this up so I can edit it and upload it and go watch my favorite podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you all on the next one. Thanks for listening.